Are you trying to get your shift together?
Welcome to the Shift Sisters podcast, where real conversations inspire real transformations. We're not experts, but we're experiencers. I'm Sandra Sa.
And I'm Jennifer Richter.
We're your Shift Sisters.
Whether you're shifting like a sloth or it looks like you're having an exorcism, this is your space to breathe, reflect, and remember. We're here to talk shift with you. Welcome back, Shifties. We're exploring all the angles of the Protect Your Peace series that we've been sharing with you guys, and we're diving into the emotional economy of men. Today, we are joined by our incredible grounded guys. We have Patrick Laurienti and Adam Richter, and we're going to unpack what he's carrying. While women's emotional labor often gets the spotlight, men carry invisible baggage too. Financial pressure, emotional suitcases, and the urge to fix everything. So we are really just going to find out how they handle it, how they protect their peace, and how we can support them best. So let's get into introducing our guys, our grounded guys, and we'll start with Patrick here today. He is one of Colorado's top 40 under 40 realtors. So it's a really cool thing that Colorado does, and they have an amazing magazine. So he was voted in there. Okay. He is a YouTube creator of All Colorado Real Estate is his YouTube channel. And it's pretty fantastic because Patrick's like us, where he's going to tell you where the best place is to get tacos and the side of town not to go on. So he'll keep you in the loop of all the things. But most of all, Patrick is definitely a man of depth, heart, and true presence. He's a family man, a big thinker, someone who leads with a deep sense of purpose. And for us, we were a client of his, but he never made us feel like a transaction. It was a genuine relationship. And we don't even live in the same state. And Patrick still checks in on us and, you know, just keeps up with everything that we're doing. But what you might not expect about Patrick is he's a gamer, a serious gamer. How he has time, I don't know. But he's proof that you can be both emotionally attuned and wildly ambitious. He's deeply spiritual and still plugged into life. From his days delivering pizzas to now building a business rooted in connection and integrity, Patrick shows up for everyone in all the ways that he shows up for himself, and that's fully. So if you're ready to shift with the mindset and expand your capacity, Patrick is definitely your guy. He posts a lot of amazing things on social media to keep you motivated and is now offering real estate coaching. So I think that's awesome because it's probably more about the personal work than the actual real estate, but I'll let him tell us about that. Adam, you are, surprise everybody, this is my husband.
Yay!
This is the man that holds all of me together because I am definitely a hot mess express. He is a leader in technology and in AI, but behind the scenes, he is a very devoted husband, father, homesteader, and a secret Reiki master. He's deep into metaphysical things, like practices daily meditation, and just has a personal mission to grow emotionally and spiritually, even when it's uncomfortable. And trust me, I've had a front row seat to that transformation. Adam has been on a long journey of a personal evolution, especially in the last few years. It's been one of the most beautiful things that I've personally ever witnessed. And his heart is very intentional, and he has a quiet strength that is exactly why he's here today. He doesn't have coaching courses, but he is like, you know, I'm an experiencer too. And I want to give the Shift brothers, the other grounded guys, I just want to give them a voice and maybe a place that if they want to ask a question or suggest an episode for the Grounded Guys series, that he can really help spearhead that, and we can have some more Grounded Guys join us. So Adam's here to speak to the men who are shifting, stretching, and showing up in new ways. Shift forecast. Oh my goodness. Sandra, tell the guys what our shift forecast is all about, how it works, why we do it.
Yes. So before we start any podcast episode, we take a moment to check in with ourselves, because whatever energy we're bringing to the episode will resonate in what we talk about. So before we get started, we'd like to just take a moment and figure out what are we feeling, and we do this through the shift forecast. So it's almost taking kind of a weather report of yourself and saying, what am I feeling right now? Am I, sunny? Am I cloudy and thundering? So in honor of the grounded guys, we added a few extra check-ins that you both might resonate with today, or you may not. Let me just share what a few of them are. So we have electric air, which means charged with brave energy. You can feel a storm has passed and something real and ready is about to be said. Or truth front moving in. So, like a cold front, it brings clarity instead of chill. It's time for honesty and to sweep through. Or a flash of inner lightning. So, quick, illuminating, and bold. A truth that hits light. So, thinking about kind of how you're feeling today and your energy for today, I can share mine, and we can go around and you can share yours as well. As I said earlier on, I'm just feeling a little off, a little bit heavy today. I'm kind of getting over being sick, so my check-in is cloudy but holding it together. So I have low energy, but I'm here, and I'm also like excited and really interested in what's going to happen for today's episode and all the topics that we're going to discuss. But I can't ignore the fact that I'm getting over the flu. So that's also, a big part of my energy today and my inner forecast. So Adam and Patrick, is there anything that you're particularly feeling, thinking about a weather report, or anything that's kind of bubbling up for you when you're checking this today?
I'll jump in while Patrick's thinking over there. Looks like you're thinking hard, Patrick. For me, I would resonate probably most closely with the lightning. Most specifically because I tend to have to jump around between a lot of things, whether it be work or family life. There's a lot of rolling with the punches, and I feel like that is very similar to lightning, where you don't really know where it's going to hit next or where you have to be.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's how I live my day a lot.
I like that.
I would say, what was the first one? Energizing air? Is that what you said?
Let's
Electric
see.
air.
Yes, electric
air, even better. Yeah, I would say that definitely is fitting. Yeah, I mean, I was on the phone with a friend today. I was like, man, things are really good, and I'm just ready for more. I'm ready to go. Like, I just gotta fucking, excuse my language, but fired. Like, let's move. So that seems fitting today for sure.
Oh, I love
Man,
that.
I'm that electric storm. I know it's not on our added guys grounded list, but boy, I feel like I have like electricity running through my nervous system, and I'm all frazzled, and I'm gonna get short circuited. So I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys are gonna have to weather the storm today. What about you, Sandra?
Well, as I said, I feel that cloudy energy, right? Like that.
Just cloudy.
Yeah, and I need some of your electricity from the three of you. So I feel like just give it to me through the screen. But it's also this is our first time with the grounded guys, and I'm just, I guess that's electrifying me and getting me excited to hear a lot of the things that are going to come up. So
yes. Well, I am excited to add some oils that I desperately need right now with this electric storm. We always pair some oils with our mood for the episode. Different essential oils hold emotional benefits, and I have cedarwood, which is the oil of community, and gathering, which is exactly what we're doing here with our grounded guys today to join us at the round table, and balance, which is the grounding blend, and what's more fitting for the grounded guys. And Adam, I know you used both of these. I don't know if Patrick's used any essential oils. What about you, babe?
Yeah, I definitely have. Early on, I think essential oils were very fringe to me. Like, it took a little getting used to because it seemed like full hippie to be using something like that. But then when you
Now you
realize,
look like Jesus.
exactly. But then when you realize that, like, the deodorants you buy, like colognes you buy, like everything has essential oils in it, essentially. So it's just the natural version. But balance is one of the ones I really like, because if I have any kind of franticness or just something going on throughout the day, that's one to kind of just smooth stuff out, calm me down. So that's easily one of my favorite.
Well, good. Well, we'll see how effective it is in about 5 minutes with me.
awesome.
Rub it all over.
All over. All right. And so before we get started talking shift, do you want to do a grounding breath work, Sandra, like you did for me before we started today?
When I felt Jennifer's energy and that electricity, I said, let's just get grounded a bit because we want to start off as calm as we can. And one of the breaths that I absolutely love is the breath where you take a deep breath in and you let it out with a sound. So the sound could be a sigh, if that's in the space that you're feeling. The sound could be something sharper, if that's kind of the energy that you have. But it's just a way to get whatever energy is within you to kind of just gently come out of your body. So we're going to breathe in for 4 and then we're going to let it out with a sigh. So I invite you to close your eyes and we're going to take our first deep breath. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then let it out with a sound. We're going to do it 2 more times. So in 1, 2, 3, 4, and let it out with a sound. And our third and last, let's do it in 1, 2, 3, 4, and let it out with a sound. All
Thank you
right.
so much. So
Hope that's
much.
grounding.
I know Adam, I think he would do it unconsciously, but he would walk around the house and do that from time to time. And it was so unfamiliar to me to just take a breath to recenter yourself. I would be like, "What's wrong? What's going on?" And he's like, "Nothing. I'm just taking a breath, recentering."
Yeah.
Patrick, do you incorporate breath work into anything you do?
Oh yeah, definitely. Just this morning I was doing breath work. Yeah.
Okay. This is super new to me. Sandra's been into it for a while, but I love it. It's been pretty life-changing. Well, let's talk
Yeah.
a little shift here. We have been talking about emotional economy, and you guys probably haven't had a chance to listen to the episodes yet. And, all the men that are listening today, it's thankfully because their wives force them to listen to the episode because it's a grounded guys series. You have to listen to it. But that's honestly how our husbands find out about a lot of great things because we are, as women, connected in that community and in the network. And with an emotional economy, because we're so connected, we can drain our emotional bank account really quickly if we are not protecting our peace. And so we talked about what it looks like to even audit your emotional books to be able to find out who in your life is a withdrawal and who is an investment. And then we were working through our boundaries and barriers and how to recognize the difference and also how to work with both of them. Does one need a little bit of nurturing to become a wall versus a barrier? And we were given the example too, like as a barrier, think about it, that is the wall of your house, but the front door is your boundary, right? So you get to choose who you let in and out, but like people can't walk through walls. It just doesn't work that way. So today we want to talk about what men's emotional economy is, always running in the background, often unspoken. Patrick, can you speak to that at all?
I mean, look, I mean, just being in the line of work I am,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of weight being carried. You
Mm-hmm.
got some of the most, impactful moments in people's lives moving kind of all in my hands at one time. So there's constantly pressure there. But then, on top of that, I'm the single provider for the household. My wife stays at home with the kids, which is such a blessing. But that definitely comes with some pressure. And it's like there will be every once in a while there's this kind of like hole in the door glimpse into like, oh shit, like I've got all of these spinning plates, and like if I drop one, then they're all going to come crashing down. But I don't, I've been doing this business for 10 years. I've been the single provider for 6. And so I feel like I do a pretty dang good job, carrying the pressure, but it's definitely there. And I would say one of the, most helpful things is protecting my peace and doing the things that allow me to be grounded. And I'd say in general I'm a fairly open person, so I'll get with my guys and I won't be afraid to share it, what's going on. I'm sure as we get into this, there might be some uncovering of things I don't share. But yeah, I mean, there's pressure. There's pressure all the time.
Do you feel though that it's been like a hard thing to be the first one to initiate that deep conversation with your guys, or was it kind of a natural thing?
Yeah, I guess, you know what, as you say that, yeah, I mean, it's definitely a hard thing, right? You worry about being judged, or almost more subconscious or unconscious to it is, you know, you worry about being judged, or what do they think about this, or gosh, if they know this about me, then what? And so, you know, yeah, I mean, there's definitely some of my guys that we don't have those deeper conversations with. I would say most of the time I initiate it, if you will. But, you know, it's kind of special to get real deep with a friend, you know, to like really open up and have those deeper conversations. I would say I probably have one or two guys, you know.
Yep. And you know, one or two is still amazing, right? Because there's so many people that don't even begin to build that one. And that's part of even how we got here, because Sandra and I always talk really deep about all of these things. And Adam has said, like, I actually really benefit from being around and involved in your and Sandra's deep conversations, because it is so therapeutic in a way, because you're just talking it out, right? You're not trying to manically fix it for one another. And sometimes it's just a listening ear. Sometimes it's, you know, a suggestion or a resource, but it's never like bashing your partner or anything like that. It's ultimately all rooted in positivity. And I'm so grateful that he said that, because that's part of why we're here today. Adam, what about you? How do you feel about this?
Yeah, definitely would kind of plus one to the stuff Patrick mentioned about the provider elements. The other one, though, that I would say like I carry that probably doesn't go unseen, but that it's still, I would say sometimes like heavy, is like the household leader, kind of like the father mentor to our children. I feel like that, you know, feels natural some days, feels impossible other days, but like over time, like I starting to continue to focus more on like the importance of it, and seeing in the ways that like I can, even though I've got a million other things going on and don't have the time, and maybe I'm angry or impatient, could just take that moment to lean in on whatever it is that's important to them that may seem menial at the moment. You know, it's definitely a big load. I'm sure similarly tons of mothers out there carry it, probably even more than fathers in a lot of cases. But in my case, like I had a lot of tunnel vision for a long time with just work and being a provider, and didn't really factor in the weight of that added element. And now that I do, it's definitely something that I carry that I think is important. And the more margin and kind of that self-care that I'm giving myself, the better I can show up with it. So that's probably the biggest one I could think of.
Do you feel like some men only focus on being a provider and think that in the way of finances, and not providing that connection and that mentorship and that leadership and you know, social support and all of those things, do you feel like they see being a provider as only a financial thing, and that is why maybe some of them don't have that same emotional hidden labor?
Yeah, I think that's kind of like a societal norm, maybe, or social pressure type thing, where as guys, there's a pressure to like, you know, are you being a good provider? Like that's the top priority in a sense. And because of that, it's easy to lose sight of other priorities as not necessarily unimportant, but they take kind of a back seat to that. Because if you're not doing that, then it almost feels like nothing else matters.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, go ahead, Sandra.
So, just a follow up to some of the things that both you and Patrick said, being a leader and being a provider for your family, being a leader at work can feel like you're on a lonely island where there's a lot of pressure on you to perform and to do all of these things. So, I'm just wondering, what are some ways that you give yourself grace, you know, when you wake up and you're just not in that energy space, or, you know, have something and you're not necessarily fully there or committed. Maybe you don't feel well. Maybe there's something else happening. Is there any opportunities that you allow yourself some of that grace, or is there any built-ins that you have that help you during those challenging times and trying to also provide and be a leader as well?
Yeah, great question. I think over time I fostered a way to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
For a long time, it'd frustrate the heck out of me, because the pressure of a provider and, you know, having my own business and needing to grow and, you know, kind of in that hustle spirit, you know, just years of life coaching and personal development and self work and, you know, understanding myself and the way I am. Like, is it sleep or like what? Like being able to identify what's going on. And so I feel like I've gotten to a decent place of when I'm off, I'm usually able to kind of isolate why, and then I just give myself grace. So like, you know, if I'm tired and I'm just having an off day, I don't buy into it anymore as much as I used to. Like I just, it's like, wait, I'm having these thoughts because I'm tired, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like I'm off because of this. Now sleep's the easy one, but when I have good sleep and I'm off, generally I just it's hard at times because I'm like, I have this list of things I got to do, but I feel like I do a decent job of being able to say yes, and like the quality of your work is not going to be near as what you want it. This is life in the universe telling you to slow down and, you know, probably do less, if not anything. That's hard in the
Mm-hmm.
sense of I want to do everything, but I feel like the grace aspect of it is there. But I didn't have it for a long time. I mean, yeah, it was a crutch for years and years for me.
Sure, it could be misinterpreted as I'm just being lazy, I'm not performing at my best, as opposed to I'm really taking care of myself so that I can be a great father, provider, leader in my work. And I think that's something that, you know, Jen and I talk about all the time, where we're go, 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 and we're trying to do our career and work and have our family and do all the things that we have on our plate. And, you know, when is the time that we stop and take inventory and see where our energy is? And are we budgeting that in a way that's going to be supportive of our goals? So, so I appreciate that, Patrick, that, you know, you've been able to do that reflection and that work as well.
Yeah, thank you. It's a work in progress.
Yeah. Adam?
Yeah, still very much a work in progress for me too. I'm very nose to like the grindstone kind of mind over matter. So when stuff's going on, like I can be very persistent or maybe sometimes interpreted as stubborn to push through things
Sure.
to get them done or to get it whatever completed. Sometimes at my own demise of like energetic, emotional, whatever. Like I'll burn it down if it means I can get it done today versus having to delay it till tomorrow.
Hmm.
I would say more recently starting to like somewhat be accepting of like help if I need it. Like, hey, pull somebody in to have them help me with it to where if I really got to get it done, maybe we can get it done faster, at least that way. Or taking, you know, minor breaks if needed, like equivalent of like a smoke break type deal where like I'll just sit down with whatever I'm doing for a little bit because I do a lot of work outside in the evenings. Get super overheated, I'll just grab a seat for a little bit and just, you know, enjoy being outside. So those little moments at least let me still feel productive that I'm doing stuff, but are kind of building in small amounts of kind of grace and recharging along the way. I haven't yet gotten excellent at like taking larger recharge breaks. I'm starting to, you know, maybe incorporate a little bit here and there, but that's probably still a bridge farther than where I am right now. But it's something I think about for sure because I show up better if I'm recharged. I'll generally be more productive, more clear headed. Kind of like Patrick was saying, like I'll do better work when I show up as a better person, but that translation doesn't necessarily always make sense in the moment.
What's some of the barriers, though, that you guys are finding that is keeping you from asking for help or taking a break? Even if you've overcome those barriers at this point or not, but what were some of those barriers?
I know one for me is just like I don't want to take the thing that's supposed to be my responsibility or that I'm working on and spread or extend it to somebody else's plate. So I know everybody has the things that they have to think about and work on. So that's one element. I think a big one probably. It's just like, okay, I just push through. I'll get it done myself.
Yeah, I mean, I would say my barrier, I think it's just in my nature of who I am and like thinking of not utilizing every hour in the day as productive as I can. Drives me crazy, you
You
know?
guys are trying to be
So
limitless.
yeah, we are. Yeah. So that's where I'm like, I see it and I understand what's happening, and I'm able to like self-regulate and okay, I'm giving myself grace. Oh, okay, I'm not listening to the thoughts. But the hard part for me is like, oh, I got all this time during today. Like I got to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the season now, is like figuring out how to be at peace with nothing, and realizing that that's actually the something that's probably most important.
It is. Do you find that you're able to put those nothing days on your calendar and on your schedule?
I mean, for me, it's. I mean, usually I don't put it in the calendar ahead of time. It's those days where it's unexpected.
Okay. So you're not making it an intentional thing to have nothing days, but if it happens, you're going to embrace it.
Yeah, that's where I could use some work, because I wouldn't be opposed. I actually do better when I schedule a nothing day.
Mm-hmm.
Because mentally I like prepare, like that's okay, that's what I'm doing. I'm doing something. Being productive means doing nothing, because I said it's the days where I just didn't expect it, and I've got my to-do list and I plan my week on Monday, and it's Thursday and I have this whole plan. Those are the tough ones.
So it's interesting because a do nothing day, nothing is a pejorative. It's a negative word, right? So when you think of nothing, it's like, I'm just wasting the day away. I'm not, being productive. But if there's a shift to that word, instead of nothing, calling it something else, it could be a self-care day, it could be a recharge day, where you're doing things that are not necessarily going to check off on the checklist of work or anything like that. But there is a purpose and there is a benefit to having those do nothing days, and maybe that will change some of the psychology of it. Instead of it looking at as a nothing, it's a something.
Fair.
Mm-hmm.
The sneaky side though is like making sure I actually do nothing, right? Because it's like, I have a nothing day. Okay, I'm gonna use today to think about the future and get more clarity, and it's like, you're still doing something, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I will say that having a family and the 3 kids, they ground me. Again, sometimes it's hard to be like, okay, I'm going to spend time with my family, and somewhat fight that during work time, and I need to do work.
Mm-hmm.
Getting better at that, but that certainly helps, because one of my life's goals is to be present with the family, so that helps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a personal struggle. I totally get that. It's like, I want to give my all in both places, and it's really hard to give your all in both places. Adam has been a really great example in the last coming couple years of saying, okay, I'm going to, mow the lawn, but let me make it a teaching experience and a moment at the same time. It's been helpful to watch. Are there any misconceptions though that you guys think are about how like men express their emotions that you'd like to challenge or encourage some men on ways to express their emotions? Because I know a lot of guys don't want to vent to their wives, because then they don't want to make it seem like there's a bigger problem, or they don't want their wife to carry that burden. But men have to have an outlet too. And, not everybody is as social as Patrick, right? Where he's going to go out and say, hey, let's play basketball. Let's go do a 5K. Let's do X, Y, and Z. And let's talk deep at the same time. Like, let's be real. Why are we here for anything else? It's not common for everyone else. So I want to see if there's any misconceptions about that emotional expression that you'd like to challenge, maybe.
I could start on that one. I think misconception wise, I think it would be that men like don't have emotions or don't experience them as deeply. I think there's just a societal element that we just rub dirt on it, kind of carry on, but a lot of that kind of suppression translates into like anger, resentment, whatever it may be. I would say overall, like, we probably all experience emotions similarly, regardless, man, woman. But I would say on the man side of things, at least, we probably have less tools to like process it. Because as Patrick touched on earlier, it's like pretty uncommon for guys to just hang out and be like talking about what we're struggling with, because there's this perception that you could be maybe saw as like weak or unable to handle the stuff that you have going on in your life, where it's super common for 2 women to just chat about like whatever's going on deeply. And I think that has an element to do with why women maybe are a little bit more emotionally mature as well. But I think like it's a big factor that definitely goes like misconception wise. I think that like, oh, he's just disconnected or cold hearted. Like it's easy to write off guys in that way, but the feelings are all still there.
Mm.
What do you do with those feelings though? Do you guys just like shove them down? Are you reflecting so that you can kind of process them and make sense of it?
For different guys, it's probably different, right? But I'm sure some take it out on like go drink or go watch sports or go play golf. Like it probably looks different for a lot of different people. Like I said, it can show up as anger in some cases, right? It's like unresolved emotions. There's definitely a lot of different avenues there.
What about you, Patrick? Any misconceptions you'd like to challenge?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest one, and this makes me want to like go to my therapist and talk to him about it to understand why I feel a little fired up when I see it. But like, I'll see reels, like I've seen a reel or two on social media, and it's like kind of glorifying being a hardened man and don't bring problems to your wife and don't tell her about your problems. I think it's so wrong. It's such bullshit from my perspective. And I don't know why it triggers me, but I'm just like, what? You're telling me you can't feel safe enough to open up and emote and be vulnerable and open to the one person you ought to be with? Like, that does not, like, it doesn't add up. That doesn't make you more of a man. Like, no. That, to me, it's, let me be mindful of my word here. That's not being real. Yes. That's not being your true, authentic self.
Yeah, you're not even really being real in your own marriage by that.
Yeah. And so then you're living a lie. And I think maybe why, I don't know, we'll see. I'll report back to you guys when I figure this one out, why it triggers me. But I know one part is like, what example is that showing our kids? That it's not safe to feel, it's not safe to emote, it's not safe to open up. And then like, I'm here to change my kids in a positive way so they can be an example in the world, and we can all collectively as a world grow and wake up to, life and the reality, which is we're human beings. It's okay to emote, and being able to know how to emote and self-regulate, and, instead of like acting out because you're pissed off or frustrated and you say some you don't want to say. It's like, what if you were just like, hey, that really frustrated me? Like, what adult says that? You know what I mean? Like that to me, I'm like, whoa, like that's manly, right? If somebody pisses you off and you're like, man, that really pissed me off. Yes.
And you're spot on, because it gets straight to whatever the situation is, right? Without all the fluff. And then you can work it out with whoever you're speaking with. Adam and I were actually just talking about something like that. Trust in male friendship is really challenging, because men are raised so much with the mindset that strength and masculinity has to be tied to stoicism instead of vulnerability. I think he can speak to the path that he's walked on that as well too, because he is a very stoic man and he's not easy to read, but he knows that he has me to share things with. But how do you know that your friend is safe in that sense?
And it's I had an acquaintance, a male acquaintance, tell me recently that there's nothing manly about men coming together and crying. Right, we were talking about like building some, men's circles and having the opportunity to talk, and I was so saddened by that. And my husband, is very squishy and kind and sweet, and has a hard time expressing his emotions. And one would, when you meet him and you're around him, you would think that he would just kind of share it all.
Sure.
I'm still trying to unlock that piece of, if I'm having a bad day, I can reach out to Jen and I can talk to her. I can talk to my husband about it, but the other way around, the whole issue of I don't want to burden Sandra with, whatever's in my heart or whatever, is happening. And I would just love to figure out what's that way, because the way that I approach, let's say, my friend or Jen or whoever it is, I'm open, I'm sharing it. I'm very, here it is. There's nothing, all of it is in front. And I just want to give him that opportunity to just be in that space without it feeling like I'm letting you down.
Yes.
And, you know, and I'm thinking, what can I do to help that, right? Like, is there something that I can say? Is there a way that I can ask him to just share a little more without it feeling like he's dumping on me, you know? And that's something that I've noticed recently, and I'm really trying to work on that together. So
What do you have to say about that, Adam? I know that you've not always felt like you've had a safe space.
Yeah, I think the perception, I guess, around like, which I guess I would consider it an extreme, is like the crying, kind of complaining element of it
mhm.
is like, probably a bridge many farther than where most guys are. Like, I think the like first step on the path is just like any kind of vulnerability, right? And maybe with your partner, just, hey, like I could use your thoughts on something, and being vulnerable enough to express what's going on in your life. That's not dumping on them. That's not like having a breakdown, but it is like leaning in and valuing your partner or your friend, whoever's opinion enough to share what's like going on in your world in like a deep way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really like the gateway to these things. And that's something I had to realize, which was, at least from my side, being willing to be vulnerable enough to be real, like Patrick said, about what's going on.
Yeah.
And not just, how's the weather, like all that really surface level stuff. So at least go one level deeper. And you'd be surprised how often the people that you're talking to either are experiencing, have experienced, or have great insight that could change a trajectory of what it is that you are experiencing. So that's been kind of my journey with that so far.
I like that. Yeah.
Well, I definitely think you guys are redefining masculinity when it comes to emotional well being. And I think that we need more leadership like that in the world. And Adam, I think you recently experienced a guys group here. And can you touch base a little bit on what that vulnerability and masculinity looked like in that guys group? I mean, you knew no one, and you took Ashton, which was being a great leader for our son as well, to this. And tell us a little bit about that and what that looked like.
Yeah, so it was kind of like a last minute thing that I joined, and going into that stuff is always very, for me at least, uncomfortable because I don't know what to expect. Like, is it going to be a bunch of crying and weirdness, or is it going to actually be like normal people? And I'm always surprised to find out that it's largely just a bunch of average normal guys that are in the same spot. They want, to be able to relate, talk about some of the things that are going on, and just have some like brothers or other people that can, if nothing else, either just listen or even sometimes say like, I've been there and like I'm on the other side of it. Like, there is hope, or here's what I did, maybe even some words of encouragement. But going to the group, was immediately out of my comfort zone. The guy that was hosting it does like energy work and stuff, and you could say he's a little bit into like the metaphysical and things like that. And when showing up, he immediately walks up and just gives you this big like hug, that he's so happy that you're here and so happy to see you and wants to, know all these things about you. Like, for me, I'm not a very like touchy person with people like that. So that immediately put me somewhat on guard. But also at the same time, it was a little bit like taking down the walls and made me feel pretty quickly welcome to what he had put together. And surprisingly, like he said, this is something that he hadn't done in like 6 months because he travels a lot. But there was still like 30 guys there. Like, so it was enough of still like that hunger for something like that. And there were some guys that were going through some really deep stuff that got to share where they were at. And then similarly, there were guys there that had been through deep stuff and were on the other side and had hope, that were able to really like provide some motivation for the people that were in the thick of it. So overall, it was like a good experience. I don't think enough of that type of stuff exists. I think oftentimes we look for things like that and maybe don't find them, and there might be opportunities to even start things like that as well. But it's important. It's definitely, it was super valuable. And I know Ashton was just in very like, our son, he was very much listening mode and like absorbing a lot of what's there, and just seeing those examples, I think, will be valuable for him too.
That's awesome. Can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah, please.
I want to preface and give context to why I'm asking it first, because one of the things that's been coming up for me in this conversation is, I've wanted to do men's groups before with this idea of like, let's open up, let's have some fun, but let's also have deeper conversations. And one of the things this may be just me, but my guess is some of the reason these groups or these conversations aren't had more is we as men don't know how to go about that. And there's definitely a line of like, yeah, like none of us want to go and like it turn into this like
a mushy guy.
Or complain fest. Yeah.
That's more so it. Like we're not gonna like go and it's this complain fest and kind of bitching and like I'm like, if you gotta cry, let's cry. But like let's not like, it doesn't have to be this, let's get together and let's all cry and open up and like, so it's like so my question is, how did that guy go about setting up that men's group and communicating that with you guys in a way that brought 30 men there?
I think what he did well that I've seen done poorly in other groups is he like actually had structure to it where he had some like specific actionable things to share that were working good in his life. Then he would kind of open it up for tidbits, but he'd still moderate along the way to keep stuff on track because, you know, in a group of any type, especially when you don't know, like things can go off the rails. Somebody can get really deep into their story and it kind of takes away the opportunity of a lot of the rest of the folks to be able to share or even relate. Mm-hmm. So like whoever's running it definitely has to like moderate in a sense to be able to kind of reel stuff in or, you know, put a pin in things for later. And then also have some specific stuff, right? Like specific topics or ideas that could prompt things. Because to your point, a lot of guys don't even know like that's something that maybe they are dealing with. But when prompted or when somebody else starts talking about their story or their experience, it's like a light bulb, right? Like, oh, crap, like I'm kind of dealing with that same thing in a completely different way. And I've never thought about it like that. So that's the big value for sure. But it's, yeah, moderator matters.
But do you remember like what he said to get you there though? Well, like what was kind of the message of like, oh, okay. Because it wasn't like, hey, we're having a men's group so we can all cry, right? Like I was just curious the message.
Yeah, and I could probably like take that offline and get you like kind of the description that he used because I think that's important of like how you attract the right people, right? Because you don't want to, like you said, just pull in people that are coming to complain or cry or not that any of that stuff's bad. I mean, a lot of people did those things too, and that's totally, you know, was fine and probably helped them move forward for some stuff that they had no other outlet to deal with. You know, candidly, like there was people there that probably, if they didn't have the chance to come to that group and relate and see a little bit of hope, like suicidal situations for some of these people, which because they have truly no outlet. A lot of men live on an island with nobody to relate to or nobody to talk to, so they very much like keep a lot of that suppressed. So by him doing that, it gave these people truly a place to come and know that like, hey, you've got a bunch of brothers, for lack of a better term, here with you that support you, right? We're here hearing you. We're here like, and some of them even reached out to each other like, hey, like you're going through some tough stuff, man. Like, here's my information. Like, call me anytime, reach out. Like, I'll come just hang out, like whatever. So it's a way to build like kind of quality connections.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, that's such an amazing experience. And I'm so glad you did it. I'll send you the Facebook link to it later, Patrick, but I know if Adam would have seen it and read the description, I don't know. I think he would have like appreciated it, but I don't think he would have acted on it because it was about like this sacred circle of masculinity and things like this. And it was really well done. And I know that this is something specifically he said he has been looking for and craving because he had a semi-small similar group like this into Colorado, but not exact. And he just found so much benefit from it. So, you know, if you guys ever want to do like a private grounded guys Zoom and, you know, see what other guys and shifties out there that want to network and support, you can do one online, you know, try to do one locally in your area, but please keep us posted if you do start something, Patrick, because we'd love to follow it and participate in any way we can.
For sure.
Cool.
It's absolutely needed. You know, when you're doing this, right, say you guys get into a group and someone is really heavy. What are ways you're going to protect your peace in that situation? Because you're going because you want to be vulnerable, but you have to protect your peace at the same time. Sandra and I experienced this. She's super social, way more than I am these days. I used to be that way. And I don't get fueled by it, right? It drains me. So I have to protect my peace in a different way than she does, because some people can be friendly and some people want to be the anchor of the ship. So how do you guys protect your peace in situations like that?
I mean, personally, I kind of like if somebody's truly like on that negative road or whatever, like to your earlier point with like walls in the door,
Mm-hmm.
like I'll probably just kind of disconnect or not water that plant in an element if they're like that all the time, because I
Okay.
just don't have a lot of time to like lean into relationships that are consistently heavy.
Mm-hmm.
That said, if I know they're just going through something, I'll try to listen and be supportive, because obviously I don't want to just like, hey, you're in a bad space, see ya.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a part that you have to judge, right? Is this somebody that is actually wants help and wants somebody to lean on and will take that advice and grow? Or is this somebody that's just like in a spiral of like negativity and is not looking for a way out?
Mm-hmm.
Because that matters when you're trying to decide how much of your own emotional capital to invest. If you can't identify that, you could easily get sucked into relationships that are just going to drain you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just using discernment in relationships. Like the simple version is, right, like, does this person fill me or drain me? Like, just that. And then, the hard part is like when you have pre-existing relationships with these people and they
That is
end
a
up
big one.
becoming drainers, and it's like, I think it's just with grace, I'm going to love you from afar. And you don't have to be like, fucking get out of my life. It's just little breadcrumbs, and you just love them from afar, and, kind of pick and choose what plant you're going to water, as Adam
Yep.
said.
Yeah, we've labeled that as the friend shift, because friends have to shift from time to time, and sometimes I have to evaluate, like, wow, I'm having this type of experience with you and it leaves me feeling X, Y, and Z, which is not in the positive. But when I see you maybe just on Facebook, I love how you present very positively and you're so well spoken, and I feel more energetically connected to you and safer. So I'm just going to stay connected to you like that. So yeah, we've had to make many of the friendships. Um,
We also talked about this with family, because family, there are those that will pour into your cup and those that will just energy suck, and it's tough. So you, as Patrick said, loving them from afar and having to make those boundaries in order to protect your own peace, which is not easy, especially during the holidays, or especially during those times. You just have to make sure that you're prioritizing that. And I've been a part of circles, women's circles, where we've just discussed really heavy topics and things, and I've fallen into the to the with my sensitive self, and my empathy and all of that, carrying that energy or carrying that burden and wanting to help, and that can be tough, right? Like letting that go through you as opposed to holding on to it in the middle of your core, because you want to be helpful in things. So it's a big it's a priority to be able to put those boundaries, protect your peace, so that you can be in those circles as well.
Gentlemen, when do you know you're emotionally overdrawn? Like, what signs tell you that it's time to pause or reach out?
Can you give me more context in what you mean by
Yeah.
overdrawn?
Yeah. So, say, when I know you already said that you guys don't really ask for help, right? But when you're emotionally overdrawn, like you've got stuff going on with your kiddos, they're needing a lot more attention and TLC. And then you have really needy clients. And then also maybe your wife is feeling a little like she needs a little bit more snuggling and all this other stuff, and you're super busy at work, like, and you're just like, I want to do all these things but I have nothing left to give right now, right? Like, what signs tell you that you are literally spent, you have nothing left to give anybody no matter how bad you want to? What shows up in your life in that way?
Do you want to go, Adam?
Sure. Yeah, I can start. So I'm not great at detecting when I'm emotionally overdrawn. Usually, once I'm aware of it, it's kind of too late. I've kind of crashed to an extent, or I've started like treating those around me like poorly. Start getting really like agitated. At that point, usually, Jen or somebody around me suggests that I like, hey, take a break, take a breather, whatever, because they see it in me oftentimes before I see it in myself. So I'm working on having like a better sense of where I am in that kind of spectrum of being overdrawn or not, so that I can more proactively manage like my margin. If I'm doing good self-care stuff, like whether that be meditation, breaks, whatever it is that I need, then usually I can keep a lot more margin to avoid that overdrawn. But yeah, I'm definitely still working on the like detecting it bit.
Okay, so yeah, no precursor signs that you're picking up. What about you, Patrick? What kind of signs show up and tell you you're about to be overdrawn?
Yeah, I mean, I would say you usually notice it. Like I say when it's too late, but like I don't know that it being late, like between like the early phase of it and then here's late. Like I don't know if there's any bad things that happen in here, but similar to Adam, like I'm just grumpy. I'm just a fucking grump. You know? I'm just like, and I know it, and I just like I'm just overloaded and overwhelmed, and I'm kind of like to the world, like F off, like everyone just so I would say that that's a big piece is I'm grumpy, or like at work it's like impossible to focus,
Oh yeah, focus goes out
those
the
two
window.
things. Yep.
Well, I always take it and I look at it in the sense of like, I don't think that men are always seen the same way in a family because they can be seen as just being the strong guy holding it all in. And yeah, he might be cranky or grumpy. But think about like a woman, right? When it's their time of the month and they're cranky and they're grumpy, they just want you to hug them and bake them brownies and tell them to go take a bath and relax and recharge. And they want to be seen and nurtured in that way. And, it's one of those things that I do try to catch for Adam. Sandra, I don't know if this happens with Michael at all, but I do try to catch it and say, you know, go take a break, right? Or go do a foot soak, go stand on the vibration plate, like go do something to nurture yourself right now. Brownies always fixes the problem for Adam. But, it's one of those things that I think is important for wives to also try to keep in mind that I don't think our husbands are being cranky or grumpy because they don't like us or because they want to. They just need a little TLC too, or a big old hug and a deep breath. Like Sandra has taught us to, 3 deep breaths can change a lot. What do you think, Sandra? Does Michael get like
Oh,
this at all?
girl, there's just so much I gotta say with what you just said. So first of all, I get grumpy. I get grumpy and I get irritable, and I don't want to be touched. I don't want my husband to ask me for anything. I just want to
Mhm,
be left alone, which is very
mhm.
different than what you just mentioned.
Yeah.
And on the opposite, when I see him having a moment and he's trying to do it on his own, I come over quietly and I'm like, can I give you a hug? Can I hold your hand? And he is like, yeah, yeah, I need that.
Hmm.
And that's the vulnerability that I'm like, yes, that's what I want, more of. I don't want you to be at that place at your wits end and then kind of crumble.
Mhm,
So it's so interesting because everything you described is kind of the opposite in the sense of I want space, but he
mhm,
wants me to be closer. And I wish I could figure out the in between, right? So before it gets to that place where I could see it in his body and in his like speech or how he's acting, I
mhm,
wish that there was an in between where it's more of a check in. And I liked what Adam mentioned about bringing that vulnerability, and maybe I have to invite that vulnerability in our kind of day to day with when it's not kind of the bigger items and just see, well, I see that you had that meeting with your boss. How did that go? How did it make you feel? As opposed to it being, a blow up or something. So yeah, so that's my take on that.
I think we had a recent success with that. Actually, we were, Adam, I don't remember where we were going, but you could tell, it wasn't actually the end of the workday for him. Had wrapped up a little early and his mind was still all in it, right?
Mhm.
You're working on your checklist and you're thinking about the things at work and then you're thinking about all the things you have to do at home as well. And, just all of these things. And yes, he was with the family and he's driving and he's focused on the road, but you could tell he is just not there. And so normally, I don't know if I would take the time to try to help transition his mindset, but I realized I want him present. And I'm sure in his heart he wants to be present, but he needs that support. And I just said, hey, is everything okay? And he would say, yes, I have a lot going on. and in my mind, and I say, well, we don't have to fix it and we don't have to get into the great detail of it, but why don't you just share everything that comes right off the top of your head with me to just get it out so that you can make space for what we're about to do. And then later you will have already dumped it and it will be organized and it'll be good. And he was resistant. And I think I had to suggest it a time or two more. And then he finally did it. And then what do you feel, babe, about that?
Yeah, I think it helped. It took the pressure down a lot. I've realized, for me at least, like I don't really have a transition per se that goes from work to home. I work from home, so it's kind of all blends together a little bit. So I've been trying to be better about creating a transition of some kind to have that space to not just go from one thing to another. And that particular day, I did not have that at all. And by Jen, like prompting to at least get some of the churn and the things that were in my mind out, it created a little bit of a transition or a little bit of space that wouldn't have been there otherwise. I would have probably continued to like stew on the things that I had on my mind, but by at least being able to get them out. And it's not like she was like trying to solve them or figure it all out or analyze stuff with me. It was just a matter of like, what's important, what's going on, and putting that out there helped. Yeah, helped a lot. Create space, I would say.
So that was me trying to catch it before it became a big thing.
Yep.
Protecting your peace, though, it means setting boundaries, not barriers. It's saying no to what drains you without shutting people out. And it's about rituals that refuel you mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And through this, we've kind of touched base just high level about some of the things that we do to stay grounded. And Sandra has brought so many amazing rituals to the Shift Sisters. But, I want to kind of dig deep into some of these rituals more than just like, oh, I run a 5K or I do a vibration plate. What are the details of these rituals, that keep you grounded, and like, how are they changing you at the core? Patrick, what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, so one of my, just in general, what are some of the rituals I partake in to protect my peace?
Yep.
I would say the biggest one is planning my week.
Mm.
And you plan it on Monday, did you say?
Actually, most of the time, the week's planned Sunday night.
Okay.
But if not Sunday, then Monday. Yep. That quiets all the sound in my mind. And that one's huge. Like, yeah, I can't say how much that protects my peace. Like without that, everything feels a little bit chaotic. No, it took a lot of time to get there. But what I realized is like I'd look, Friday or Saturday or Sunday, or maybe I'm planning my week after a week that I didn't plan. And it's like I just don't feel great about myself about that previous week. What's funny is like sometimes I'll even plan my week and there's weeks that are just so busy I may revisit it one or two times over the course of the week. The whole plan is an idea is to review it. I plan my weeks, I plan my days, but like what I found is even if I'm not planning my days, even if I don't really revisit it, like it's just that anchor that completely grounds me and knowing that, okay, like I have my eye on the ball. So I'd say that's a big one. We have littles, right? 2, 5, and 6 years old. So shifting gears, the second one that protects both my wife and I's peace is they go down at like 8:00, and so right after they go down, like we get time to ourselves. They don't sleep in our bed, like that's by design, and so that also is like our saving grace because you got to be a human being. And so that's our time to do us. And I'd say those two, there's other things I do, but those two things are probably the most impactful.
Mhm.
Yeah, that schedule is a big thing. I really realized how out of any kind of routine or planning I was until I was around Sandra, and we're just hanging out and it's the evening and she's like, "All right, what's tomorrow look like? What are we doing? What's the vibe? What's the clothes? What time are we doing this?" Blah blah. And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh shit, I was trying to relax. It's like the evening time." So, you guys are definitely on the same page with that before before the week starts planning. What about you, Adam? What are some of your core, ritual grounding techniques? But tell us some great details about them that, helps us understand why it's so amazing.
So I'm a super I would say, routine person, which to me is somewhat of a synonym to ritual. The things for me that like I do virtually every morning is meditation is one, which for a long time I was very hesitant to even consider it because I thought it would make me super mellow all the time and kind of take off my edge or take off my focus when it came to work. And after giving it a chance and actually doing it, I realized that it actually made me sharper in a sense when it came to work. Like the decisions I would need to make were just more clear. I was able to get things done like faster and maintain like a calm about it still, which was good. But I wasn't like frantically jumping from thing to thing. So that's one that's pretty table stakes for me. I need to at least incorporate some of that every day. Working out as well. I think maybe just primally, I got to feel like I've like hunted, killed, did something to get the get the blood pumping. And in the morning, that's important for me too. And that can look like different things for different people. It could just be walking your dog, but I have to do something, physical working out to kind of help balance me as well. Because then really no matter what else happens in that day, like, was it as hard as I pushed myself for that? Like maybe not. And then I would like previously, I think it was a big ritual for me to like incorporate a lot of caffeine. I probably lived my life off of caffeine and grit, but over time I've actually started to like remove a lot of that stuff from my day to day. And crazily enough, like I've noticed like no difference in energy. Like I'm no less tired during the day. I'm no less productive. So like now for me, it's a ritual to like kind of exclude those things and to simply enough too, to have breakfast. Like I know it sounds like a dumb ritual. Like, well, yeah, it's breakfast, but like I would get right into it and oftentimes just not even eat breakfast. And like to making sure that like I included that time to like just have that like giving myself a moment to actually eat in the morning before getting too far into things has been important as well. So it's a lot of simple things, but I think by being consistent with the simple things, you set yourself up for being successful with the bigger things.
Yeah, those are a lot of core foundation things, and it's stuff that it doesn't take anything special, right? You can do those anywhere. But I remember when you first started meditating, you used a device called the Muse to help basically train your brain how to meditate because your mind was so wired, you had a hard time getting into receiving and listening mode, which is really what meditation is. So, can you tell us a little bit about the Muse and what that was like and how it worked for you?
Yeah, I still use that like quite often because it's just a device like headband you put on and it measures some of your like brain frequencies, heart rate, movement, and it's very simple. You put your AirPods or headphones in, and as you're meditating, it'll play a sound, be rain or wind, whatever it is that relaxes you, waves. And as your brain waves and things enter that meditative state, there'll be like quiet birds chirping. And then if your brain is out of the meditative state, whatever sound you're listening to, say wind, waves, it'll like make those things louder. So the wind will get more harsh or the rain will rain harder. So it's basically like in a biofeedback kind of way, training you to actually meditate better. So you get like, I'm very much a techie for one, which you can probably tell by these comments, but also like into being efficient with the things that I do. So I get like an hour's worth of meditation in just 10 minutes of time because I'm very effectively meditating rather than sitting there trying to be in silence, thinking about 100 different things. When I have that headband on, like I'll be starting to think about something else. And then all of a sudden it's catching me because I'm hearing the waves or whatever get louder. And then that brings me back to center and I can kind of clear my mind out and then refocus. So it's been like a productive little tool hack. I don't think everybody needs it. You might be fine with music or a free guided meditation on YouTube or something along those lines, but it's definitely worked for me.
And that's amazing that you and Patrick both have this just primal desire to be limitless to that's your headband. And you realize that slowing down for what was it you said 10 minutes in the morning that you do this meditation, like 10 minutes, who can't carve out 10 minutes for yourself, and we had talked previously how my life had changed just by actually taking a 15-minute break throughout the day. I was able to extend my stamina through the whole day versus crash the second I sit down, and it was a game changer. These are some awesome resources, and I really should practice this planning my week Sunday nights. I'm going to let you guys know how this goes and if I can become a big girl.
Oh,
But
I love that Patrick brought that to the conversation, because I naturally do that, and I thought I have to do less of that. And when he uses it as a way to protect his peace, I said, that makes sense. I have to embrace that, because I'm thinking about Epsom salt baths and in meditations, and I also use a vibration plate and throughout the day, just to help when my nervous system is kind of out of whack or things get really stressed at work. And the other thing is, I work from home as well, and I try not to eat at my workstation. I try to get up, and because there's just that, I'm going to scarf down my lunch in 10 minutes so I could finish what I'm working on. And it's like, give yourself some grace, like enjoy your food and take a break. And that is something that I need to continue to do as well. So just, loving some of the things that are coming up from this conversation.
we all help train and support one another, right?
For sure.
Well, if you guys could drop one stress, what would it be? And what would it free up for you emotionally?
It's a great question.
Can we not ask that question?
He's like,
Man.
I have 10 of them
Yeah.
that I can share with you.
I gotta face my stresses.
Tried this exercise at one time because there was a point in time in the past where he had it was, that emotional overload. And I said, okay, well, let's just list them out, not in any particular order. Let's just list them out and evaluate them to see if there's anything that we can let go of. And he was so overwhelmed, he couldn't even do that. And so I had to get him into, and I say this because it's good to have a support buddy to help you know how to get the information that you're looking for. And so maybe you can help your partner or friend do this as well too. When you're having a hard time recalling what is overwhelming you, I often will have him just stop where he's at. I make him close his eyes and take that deep breath. And then after the deep breath, I say, the very first things that pops into your mind, just say it. We can organize it later, but just say it. And then once he says it, then keeping your eyes closed, he takes another deep breath, and then another thing comes out. So it's like it can help you get the overwhelm out in breaths. Yeah, what's one stress? Adam?
Yeah,
Sure,
I'm thinking on mine.
I can start where you're thinking. I'm always adjusting. Like one relevant recent one that I've been considering dropping or experimenting with minimizing is like news and social media stuff.
Yes.
Primarily because, like, for one, it's a large time kind of suck, but it's also like very emotionally impacting. Like it'll sway you in a lot of directions. Mm-hmm. And the reality of it is, like, a lot of it is stuff that truly makes no difference on like my day. Like whatever's happening in international news or in politics or whatever else, like can easily get you riled up. You might even be like responding to comments or posting divisive stuff, like whatever it may be online. But in the end, I think it was something that Mark Zuckerberg might have said a long time ago, like the bird that's on your tree outside is more relevant news to most people than what's going on like in another state or, with, politics or whatever else. And I think that's really true in a lot of ways because we can get so like caught up in the swirl of all the things that are going on. Mm-hmm. But if you were to like ignore it for a little bit or not look at it, it probably is not going to change your day by a large amount. Like, yeah, you'll be a little less informed when somebody asks you what you think about something, but what matters? What
matters? Let me tell you guys this. I totally am going to get it tattooed on my wrist. But our daughter, when she was like, what was she? Like 2, 3, maybe. She was trying to say, what's the matter? Right? Because you know how kids say things. And she would say, what matters? Well, if you think about it and you ask what matters in any situation, it really makes you think, what about this does matter? Right? So that you can lead more intentionally. And so we would always just jokingly, repeat Charlotte is what matters. Mm-hmm. But now we say it to each other to help us really go, oh, this is a moment that we need to reflect to see what the heck matters in this situation. Is it even worth having in our life? So, well, if you eliminate, right, this stress of news and politics and things like that, social media, I think you said, what would it free up for you?
For me, it would add, I think, emotional margin, because instead of all of that stuff, like creating whatever it may be, fear, frustration, like all the stuff that news or social media is trying to do, jealousy, like whatever all the elements are that are in there, kind of the cocktail of those things, it'll take a lot of that like out of my life, which will leave more room for like the real and relevant experiences of our day to day, like what's actually going on at work with the people that I work with, what's going on with my family and what's important to them. So I think that's ultimately what it'll free up, is more room for the things that are more important.
Well, if you do it for a 30-day challenge, you have to report back to us how you feel about eliminating that one thing. And you kept saying the real thing, and then something popped into my head for you, Patrick, because when I think of someone that is real and I could go to that would give me genuine feedback about something, it's you. That's the name of your men's group, Real Men, right? Because you
I
guys all
like
got to be
that.
real together.
Yeah, I dig it.
So tell us, Patrick, what's that stress that you would drop?
Yeah, that's a good question. What's coming up for me is it's interesting because it's like that kind of subtle, quiet stress, but it's always there. So right, like the stresses of, putting out a fire for a deal, like those are really loud, but some a lot of times they're short-lived. A lot of times I can self-regulate, like, but the quiet little one that it's almost like hard to even admit it's there, but it's the stress of making it, right? Like I've got my vision and my goals and I want to do big things and grow, and I see it, and it's kind of like that attachment to wanting it so badly, and like it's the blessing and the curse, right? Because it ignites this magical fire that allows me to create and do more and grow and create amazing things and live out my vision. But it also that stress of like, I want it. Like I want it, and so there's that piece of me that's, again, it's kind of like quiet and subtle, but there is that stress of, fuck, I can't do nothing, right? I got a whole day ahead of me. And if I were to let it go, I think the why I chose that one is I think it would make the biggest impact in general. More specifically, in regard to two things. One is kind of ironic because if I let that stress go, it would actually be the ignition of achieving what I want all that much more quicker and faster, and it'd be more creative. And so it's like, it's that detachment that actually allows for that world to be created. But the second thing, which I hold dear and close to my heart, is just being present with the family and the kids. You talk about what matters, right? And I transition from work and I'm with them, and because I'm just programmed the way I am, it's like I get off work and I'm with them and I can't wait to get back to work, right? And it's like, hold on, we got to slow down. Like what matters, right? It's like these little beans of magic that I get to spend 3 hours with. Work's coming. I'm going to be able to go to that. But like I get 3 hours with these kids, from the time I get off to when they go to bed, and just being able to be present and playful and patient and engaged with them, that's what matters. So that's the stress I'd let go of.
Yeah, saying that it's kind of related to that I like resonates with me often, is that if you get like overly focused on the past, it's more or less what translates to like depression. If you get overly focused on the future, it's basically what translates to anxiety. So like in any given moment, like really all that we have is the moment that we're in. And if we're ruminating, on work when we're with our children, or if we're, at work thinking about wishing that we were with our family, like we're really not doing either one of those things very well at that time. And that's been a pretty like important revelation for me to kind of bring me back to the present when I'm in those moments, to better find like a balance of sorts, to where that I can get, more enjoyment and more value out of the moments that I'm in. Because The reality of it is, if I'm thinking about something else in those moments, like there's probably not a lot I can do to control it at that time anyway. So I may as well shelve whatever that thing is until I could get back to potentially addressing it and just be where I am.
Sandra, I know you can speak to this.
Oh, always, always. It's, there's so much that I can give up that will, allow me. So I don't have enough creative time in my life. I'm going and work and all the things that I have on my plate and all of that. And I just listening to the feedback and saying to myself, I love what you were saying, Adam, when you're not fully present, you're not necessarily being productive
Doing any
or,
well, yeah.
yeah, because you're thinking about all the things that you can do or should have done and all of that. So this is also giving me pause to think about how I am conducting myself and how I can truly utilize every moment that I have in the way that it needs to be lived. So I relate to all of this.
Well, I just want this to be a reminder that you don't have to carry it all alone. Boundaries are not barriers. I'm really trying to not lie to myself about a barrier
Yeah.
and say it's a boundary, of saying, like, where are my barriers and how can I soften them? But it's with working through the shift together. There's always a way to show up, as your truest self. And emotional wealth is really just built by investing in what refuels us. We have to say no when it doesn't work, and we have to allow ourselves to feel, to rest, and to ask for support in what makes us grounded. So Sandra's going to do some shift activations for us. And for you grounded guys, shift activations are journal prompts, and you can either download the episode toolkit, which has them in there, or write them down. But it's stuff to kind of just work through on your own. We usually keep like a notebook, and every episode we offer some shift activations, and we reflect on them and we work through them. And sometimes you keep them just to yourself, and then there's some people that want to share them with their partner, with their friends, or they even send them into our website to share here on some of the episodes. So Sandra, give us some shift activations so we can keep protecting our peace.
Yeah. And just a reminder to everyone, this is an invitation. So this invitation is just going to help you to continue your work and to dig deeper into today's episode. And some journal prompts that you can think about is number one, where are you showing up because you feel like you have to, not because you want to? That's a big one. Number two, what would it look like to protect your peace without shutting people out? And number three, what version of being strong have you been trying to live up to, and is it working? So you could take any one of those journal prompts and really deep dive into it. We would also, if you'd love to have it witnessed, we'd love to have you share it with us. If you allow us to share us on social media, we'd love to do that as well. But I think it's really helpful to see in community what some of these journal prompts really show up for some of our listeners. So and look forward to actually doing this invitation myself as well.
Well, we're so grateful for our grounded guys joining us today. Thank you for being here. We will have all of their contact information in the show notes. So if you want to reach out to Patrick and you want to do some coaching, you don't have to be in Colorado. You could be anywhere to do coaching with Patrick. And he's just an amazing resource. You're actually going to be very lucky if you can work with him. And Adam is here to support the Grounded Guys department of the Shift Sisters podcast. So if you have any questions or things that you want to chat with him about, just submit it on our website and we will forward it to him, and Adam will help spearhead some of those episodes and conversations and things like that. But we are so grateful for this heartfelt conversation and for our guys being here. And show us some love and leave us a review and tell us what hit home with you for this episode. You can hashtag Shift Sisters Podcast on any socials, and we hope that you stay grounded, take a deep breath, and know that you always have us to talk shift with. Until next time, protect your peace, Shifties.
And that's it for today's shift. Thank you so much for sharing this space with us. If you're loving the conversation, become a shifty. Like, follow, subscribe, and most of all, share this episode with someone who's shifting too, or someone who seriously needs to get their shift together.
Do you have thoughts, questions, topic requests, or maybe you're feeling the nudge to collaborate? Visit us at shiftsisterpodcast.com. We'd love to hear from you. We're so grateful for your presence, your friendship, and your willingness to do the work with us. Because shift happens and we're not meant to do it alone.
We'll meet you back here next time to breathe, reflect, and talk shift.